everyone, welcome to Monday's writing. This week we're going to switch it up a little bit, and last week we focused specifically on narrative writing. You guys did absolutely amazing on your essays. Mrs. Sunshine and I are blown away with the creativity that you use. So great job, keep it up. But we wanted to add another aspect to what we were doing. So a lot of the time when we're writing narrative writing, you're telling a story, or talking about an experience or an event or a series of events. And when you're doing that, a lot of the times there are multiple characters within your story. When that happens, we have to use something called dialogue. Dialogue is when you and another person are having a conversation back and forth throughout your story. So a lot of you, when you were writing out superheroes, you were talking about how you were doing this, and then the bad guy said this, and the good guy said this, but we have to learn how to, which was awesome that you used that, but we have to use the correct format on how to speak within our writing. So this week we're going to focus on quotation marks and making sure that we're putting them in the correct spot and using them appropriately. For dialogue, there are 5 steps, and we're going to follow these 5 steps this week. Monday and Tuesday, you are going to be working on worksheets, either on Google Classroom or in the paper-based packet, and you are just correcting the sentences that are already given to you with adding quotation marks, commas, punctuation, wherever is needed. Wednesday, you are going to take a story that was already written for you and place quotation marks correctly within the story to make sure that it sounds perfect. And then on Thursday, you are going to have the opportunity to write us a story or an experience on your own using quotation marks, punctuation in the correct spot. And then Friday there is no school, so you have a 3-day weekend. All right, so let's get started. So dialogue. Dialogue, again, is when you have a conversation with 2 or more people throughout the story. So these are the 5 steps that we need to use for dialogue. We always put quotation marks around what someone is saying. So if I said, yesterday, I told my mom I was going to the store. What I told my mom was I was going to the store. That would need to be in quotation marks. Nothing else of your sentence. It's just the spoken words. Then you need to capitalize the first word of capitalize the first word of what the person is saying. So if I started my sentence by saying, yesterday I said, and then quotes, I was going to the store. The I also needs to be capitalized. Even though it's in the middle of the sentence, that is what I started by saying, so it needs to be capitalized. And don't worry, I have tons of examples we're going to walk through together. A place ending punctuation. We need a place ending punctuation inside the quotation mark. So whether that's a comma, a question mark, or an exclamation point, those do go inside the commas. And then we need to identify the speaker, and by saying said Mike, or explained Kim, or said Miss Gomez. Anything like that stays outside of the quotes. We do not incorporate that inside. And then lastly, we need, each time a person speaks, you need to start a new paragraph. So if I had said, yesterday I went to the grocery store, and my mom responded back saying, great, but you forgot the apples. That sentence would become a new paragraph because she is starting to talk now. Not me, but somebody else, so you make it its own paragraph. I saw this little jingle that could help. So it says quotation marks. Quotation marks come 2 by 2. Use 2 before and 2 when you're through. Inside are words said by another, like, clean this messy room, said mother. So the only thing the mother said was clean this messy room, so that was put into quotation marks. I put a comma before the quotation mark, because my third step said I needed to place some sort of punctuation in the quote. You normally will never put a period within your quotes unless it is the end of it. So if it said, my mother said, clean this messy room, then it would be a period. But because said my mother came last, the period went here. So let's get started with some examples, and we'll go step by step through our checklist to see what we need to include. So the first one says, my brother asked, will you help me with this? So we need to put always, number one says, always put quotation marks around what someone is saying. So first I need to figure out who is talking and what that person is saying. So it says, my brother asked, will you help me with this? So it's my brother that's talking, and he's asking me a question. So where it starts is will. That is where he starts by talking. Will you help me with this? Question mark, quotation mark. Okay? Now, that's check one of my list, my rules. The next is to capitalize the first word of what the person says. So again, yes, this is the beginning of the sentence, so this needs to be capitalized, but when he begins to start talking, also needs to be capitalized. So it says, my brother asked, will, okay, and it looks like it's capitalized, but if it wasn't, I would do 3 lines like that to make sure I did capitalize it when I rewrote it. Okay, step 2. Place ending punctuation inside the quotation mark. Okay, so inside would say, will you help me with this? Question mark. So thankfully, our question mark is already placed there for us. Number 4, identify the speaker, said Mike, exclaimed Kim. Okay, well, we already done that. My brother is the one who is asking our question or speaking here. And then finally, each time a person speaks, start a new paragraph. Okay, well, this conversation is done. There is no one else that answered him, so we're going to leave it at that. But we can move on to number 2. And it says, the umpire yelled, safe. So we need to go back to our checklist, and we need to go step by step. Number 1, always put quotation marks around what someone is saying. So we first need to figure out who's talking. The umpire yelled, safe. So I know that the umpire is the one yelling. What he said was safe. So I'm going to put quotes. Ooh, what I forgot to do in the first one is, we're going to go back a second. We knew that we identified the person speaking, but what we didn't do was put the comma after asked. So I apologize for that. So it needs to say, my brother asked, comma, will you help me with this? I apologize. So number 2, the umpire yelled, safe. So we've put our quotes. The next is to capitalize the first word of what the person is saying. So his first word was safe, and that already looks like it's capitalized. The next is to place ending punctuation mark inside the quotation mark. And the sentence had already done that for us. They gave an exclamation point because he was yelling. So because he was yelling, that's a more excitable thing he's doing. So there's an exclamation point. The next is to identify the speaker, said Mike, comma, exclaimed Kim, comma. So we need to say the umpire yelled, comma, safe. So then again, those quotation marks come before, or I meant after the comma. And then finally, each time a person speaks, start a new paragraph. Well, nobody's answering the umpire, so we're going to leave it just like that. Okay, number 3. It says, the boy said, my name is Chad. So we need to figure out who is speaking. decide what the person is saying, and then we need to add some quotes and punctuation. So step 1, always put quotation marks around what someone is saying. The boy said, "My name is Chad." Okay, so what he's saying is my name is Chad. So I'm going to start by putting quotes around my name is Chad, and then your quotes come after this period. Always comes after the punctuation mark. Then the next says, capitalize the first word of what the person says. So he said his name was Chad. Well, the my is not capitalized, so I need to capitalize this to make that correct. Oops. Then I need to place ending punctuation marks inside the quotation mark. So the period is already there for us. And then we need to identify the speaker. Said Mike, exclaimed Kim. So the boy said, comma, and then my name is Chad in quotes. And then again, we do not need to switch paragraphs because he is done talking. So when I rewrite this one, it's going to say, the boy said, comma, then a space, quotation marks, capital M, my name is Chad. And then make sure we capitalize his name because it's a proper noun. Period, then quotes. Okay? The next one, moving on, says, the doctor asked, what does not feel well? Okay, so first we need to put quotes around what the person is saying, and we need to identify who is speaking. So the doctor asked, so it must be the doctor who's speaking. So he asked, what does not feel well? So my quotes are going to go around that. Please remember it goes after the question mark. Then we need to capitalize the first word of what the person is saying. So the doctor, the first thing he said was, what does not feel well? So that W needs to be capitalized. Then it says, identify the speaker, said Mike, explained, because we already have our question mark, so that's good. Now identify the speaker. So we have to say, the doctor asked, comma, what does not feel well? And then each time the person speaks, start a new paragraph. So if that patient had responded to the doctor, then you would start another paragraph. So I am going to rewrite this sentence in the correct way. So the doctor asked, comma, quotes, capital W, what does not feel well, question mark, quotes. And then you would have a perfect sentence. Okay, last two. I will help you, answered the child. Okay, so always put quotes around what someone is saying. So I will help you, answered the child. So the child is saying, I will help you. So I'm going to put that in quotes, and I'm going to put it after the comma. Our quotes go after our punctuation. The next step is to capitalize the first word of what the person says. So because it came at the beginning of a sentence, the word was already capitalized for us. So that's a good thing. Place ending punctuation inside the quotation mark. So comma, question mark, exclamation point. That comma was already there for us, so we are good to go there. And then identify who the speaker is. So answered the child, and our comma is already there because it's in the quotes. And then lastly, each time a person speaks, start a new paragraph. So now our sentence here is perfect. I will help you, answered the child. Okay? Final one. Okay, watch out, yelled my friend. So we need to identify what somebody is saying. So watch out is what my friend is going to be saying to us. So I'm going to put that in quotation marks. So that's my first step. My second step is to capitalize the first word of what the person is saying. So the person started by saying watch out, and that was at the beginning of the sentence. So that's good for us. Then number 3 says place ending punctuation inside the quotation mark. So this time there is nothing here. We need to add something. This is where you have to decide based on the word that they're saying the person answered in. So this person yelled. So if somebody's yelling, that most likely is going to need an exclamation point because they're obviously pretty excited and amped up about that. So for this one, I'm going to put an exclamation point. So watch out, yelled my friend. Now, this is just the sentence that the person had said within your whole entire sentence. So you do not go back and recapitalize yelled my friend because it's just a silly rule, but we have to follow it that this yelled does not get capitalized, only what the person is saying. And then we need to identify the speaker. So then we already have a exclamation point here, so you do not need a comma to separate the two. And then nobody responded to my friend, so I do not need to start a new paragraph. So I will leave it on this for you. I will back it up. There is no new video for tomorrow. You will use this same video and rewatch it to help you with tomorrow's assignment as well. Wednesday and Thursday there will be new videos, so keep posted for those. Other than that, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.